Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My typical greeting, I suppose. Welcome to Run It Back. We are in episode number 87, and I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Premise of this show, of course, remains the same, where we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we talk about in-game adjustments, how we prepared for the game, when we throw an audible or if we don't throw an audible and stick with something, little corrections that we would make as coaches. It's a show for coaches by coaches, I suppose. And as I say each week, it's terribly niche. So I mean, if that's not your thing, get out now because we're gonna sit around the stove, as they say, and talk some basketball right now. This week, similar to all of the previous weeks, we're going to explore a particular game, and we're very fortunate to have a coach from the game joining us. So we are looking at a high school game here of Riverwood versus Cass. The game took place on December 13th, 2021. And I've got my good friend Byron Taylor, who was the coach of Cass and still is, joining us. BT, if you give me a second, I'll try to do you justice with a warm welcome to the show. First off, thank you for joining. Appreciate you appreciate you being here. Excuse me. Currently, the varsity boys head basketball coach at Bartow County Schools. Previously had spent 4 years as the associate head coach at James Madison University. Prior to that was at the University of North Florida for a 7-year stint, 5 of which were as an assistant coach, 2 of which were as the director of basketball operations. And he had an illustrious playing career himself at Florida A&M as a varsity basketball player. And so he knows the game. He's been around for a little bit. BT, I am so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Run It Back.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Look, I'm excited to be here.
I love it. I love it. All right. So let's start here. I think this has kind of been the usual place of where I've been starting lately. Give us a little bit of a background about your league, this particular game, where you are in your season, if there's any special meeting attached to the game, all those fun things, please.
So this was our ninth game of the year. Coming into the game, we were 3-5. Started out first 2 games of the year, we went 2-0. And kids were a little bit overconfident. And we kind of were struggling going into that game. So it was a good game. This game was already scheduled before I got the job. We were really excited to try to get back right. We were coming off a loss. It was a Monday game, coming off a loss from a Saturday game. We were just kind of excited to kind of get back right. So that was kind of what we had going on.
Love it. And for anybody who doesn't know Cass's background or the basketball hierarchy at the high school level in your state, could you give me a little bit of a background there too, please?
So Cass High School is in Bartow County, Cartersville to be exact. Right. And it's in Metro Atlanta. So in Metro Atlanta basketball, the last, 15, 20, 10 years has just
forever. Has been good forever.
It's just really exploded. Obviously it's really football heavy in the state of Georgia, but just in Metro Atlanta, basketball is just a really crazy sport. Kids are specializing early on. They're getting trainers. They're playing AAU at a very, very early age. And you see a lot of guys that are just in the NBA, from Metro Atlanta. So kids grow up, seeing these guys play and aspiring to be that and to do those things. So it's very, very competitive. It's very, very good coaches, that have coached for a long time, that have coached really good players. So I found it very, very challenging from, night in, night out basis, going against, that other coach on the other end, no matter if it's a team in our region or, just a non-region game. So it's been very exciting. It's been very competitive. And I've loved every second of it.
Love it. Love to hear it. I think I would rather be in a league full of gentlemen where, you're swinging up instead of punching down type deal. So love the fact that it's competitive, and I think that's great. So you mentioned you're coming off of a Saturday game. This is a Monday game. Let's talk about this scouting process. What have you heard of this team? When do you start your process? What goes into the process? How do you order the information? Talk to me about everything.
So obviously a quick turnaround with only a day in between. So for me, I try to look at who we play that next week, and I'll sort of watch two teams at a time,
Right.
especially when it's a quick turnaround. And then like a Sunday, a day in between, we'll just have like a walkthrough. We'll walk through some of their favorite sets. We'll talk about some of their personnel, and I found kind of at this level, less is more. I would love to give those guys more as far as, going over every underneath out of bounds play, going over every set. But those guys aren't going to remember that. So we try to keep it at about 2 or 3 set plays, some of their favorite stuff. And then a lot of our stuff is personnel driven. This guy loves to drive right. This guy loves to go
Right.
left for a pull up, 3-point shooter. We try to keep it very, very simple. And with that in mind, we have 3 different types of closeouts. Just to keep it simple for our guys, we have a Rondo.
Yep.
Rajon Rondo will be a non-shooter, a guy we go short closeout on. Dwayne Wade, 50-50 guy, can drive, can shoot. We try to be there on the catch. And then we have a Curry, obviously Steph Curry. We try to run that dude off the line. We try to lock and trail him. We try to make him bounce it on the catch. We try to give that guy no free looks, no open shots. Have that guy just feeling pressure all the time. So anytime we have especially a short turnaround, I found that those 3 designations of closeouts have really helped the guys just understand exactly who that player is.
Right.
So even if we're not getting into more specific as far as right-hand driver, left-hand driver, if we just say, hey, Rondo, Wade, Curry, they know exactly what type of player that guy is. So that really has simplified things.
It's funny. It's like, obviously not the first time I've heard the analogy of the players. I wonder if Rajon Rondo knows that he's kind of the prototype of the short close and bet closeout, right? Like if he knows that around the world, high school coaches, college coaches everywhere are like, nah, don't worry about him. Like, that being said, so you focus on 1 or 2 of their actions if you're able to get a walkthrough, and then you spend more time on the personnel stuff. I love the closeout stuff. Is there anything that you would be changing about what you guys do for particular sets, or do you have really strong defensive tenets that you stick to and you're just kind of giving them an idea when you walk through?
I would say from game to game, depending on the action and depending on who they're running it for, we may change. I'm all about doing whatever is best for our team to win.
Right.
And I just don't think right now with the guys that I have a very young team. I
Right.
just don't think we can lock into specifics defensively. I don't think we're to that point until my guys get a little bit older and we can just be really, really fundamentally sound. And I think it really keeps them on their toes. Just, this game we're going to guard this cross screen this way. This game we're going to guard this back screen this way. It keeps them on their toes, keeps them alert, and just try to keep them active.
So would it be fair to say that like your system is constantly evolving throughout the season based upon, who new opponents are? If they're cross screen heavy, you're going to spend more time that week working on a cross screen. You may not have even introduced how you wanted to have played it yet at that point.
I would say yes, and we kind of, use shell drill every week just to kind of hide that. We may not even be saying, hey, the team we play on Friday runs this action. We may just guard it in shell, 4-on-4,
Right.
5-on-5. And that way, when we go through the scout, it's not their first time seeing it. We may have guarded it for 2 or 3 days that week. And now, you get to the scout, and now they're like thinking, oh, we guarded that cross screen, down screen.
Right.
We guarded that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in practice, and now we're ready for it on Friday.
Love it. Do you guys have access to film of your opponents? Are you capable of seeing them on film a few games before? And if yes, what games would you be watching? The most recent ones? Do you identify teams that are similar in style of play to you and see if they played them? Like, how does that work for you?
So we have huddle, and most schools in Georgia have huddle, and I love to just do direct exchange. I'll just contact the coach. Some coaches are all for it, some do not want to do it. So I'll just
Really?
contact the teams that they played, and I'll get the game film as well. So it's not like Synergy where all your games are just there and you can just download whatever you need. You have to have access to it. Somebody has to send you that game film, and or even if you do direct exchange. Um, and for
So it's
me,
the
I would prefer to do direct exchange and take the middleman out, but everybody's not like that.
it's unbelievable that coaches like that still exist. It's like, I'm gonna get the film. Like, what are we doing here? Like, if it's not you giving it to me, somebody will. Like,
No doubt.
so when you get film, will you cut it up for them, or are you just watching for yourself to be able to give? Like, what's your process of delivering to your guys from the film?
So it really depends on how many days I have in advance. The more days I have in advance, I mean, I would prefer to watch 5 or more games. But with a short turnaround, probably watch 3 games. And then we right now we don't show video of our scouting of our opponent. We'll show video of ourselves.
Right.
Kind of post game and days following. But right now we don't watch video of the other team. But it's all for me and my coaching staff. We kind of watch it together, and we'll figure out our game plan, how we want to attack, what we want to take away, and things of that nature. So if it's a short turnaround, probably 3 games. But if we have a few days in between, I mean, I love to watch 5 or 6 game films if I can.
Talk to me about the communication with you and your staff. So if you have a little bit more time and you're capable of watching 5, or if you have a shorter period of time like this one and you're only going to get 1, 2, 3 games in, how do you then communicate with your staff? Like, are they watching the same games you are you guys having a meeting before, or are they coming to practice and you're just kind of basically delivering the message at practice?
So the thing that I enjoy is that we all see different things when we watch video. So I'll kind of tell them, hey, let's watch their last 3 games. We have those on huddle. Let's kind of watch those, and tomorrow let's just kind of talk about what you see. What do you think they do
Right.
well, and we'll just kind of talk shop on that, and we'll kind of just figure out collectively what we want to take away. And then obviously I'm the head coach, so I kind of make that final decision of, hey, we're going to guard it this way, we're going to guard it that way. But those guys do a great job of saying, hey, coach, I saw this and it could have been something that I didn't see. And that's the reason I really enjoy when we all watch the same video, because we all see different things we're watching.
Yeah. Let's go from general to specific a little bit. Like, you have a 2-day turnaround here, and I'm assuming you're probably pulling more film from the game that you had just played on the Saturday. What kinds of things, if you can remember, were you really, zeroing in on from that game that you wanted to correct for the next game about yourselves?
Absolutely. So with a very young team, anytime a team goes on a 6-0, 8-0 run, especially at that time during the season, we had a tendency to come down and kind of take some wild, out of control shots, kind of
Right.
play a little bit more one-on-one and get away from the offense. And I kind of just thought that was guys not playing hero ball, but just like, man, I want to make a play for my team. And instead of, hey, let's get a shot out of our offense, almost just over dribbling or over penetrating or overshooting, trying to have a good play, but just not doing it in the right way.
Right. Right.
So
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 you
so that was something that we really talked about. No matter if they, because runs are going to happen in a game.
Yeah.
6-0, 8-0, 10-0, whatever. Just stand with our game plan, stand with the way that we want to play on both ends, offensively and defensively.
Like it. And then, in that 1-day turnaround, 2-day turnaround, basically, would you be able to have a shoot around in there or no?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we typically go shoot arounds the day before, and I've done a couple shoot arounds like 6:15, 6:30, a.m. But the guys have struggled a little bit in class on those days, so
Right.
I kind of tail back away from that. I got some notes from the teachers about guys being tired and things like that. So I would prefer to do the shoot around the day before. And, I have a short period, during like homeroom where I can meet with those guys, for a quick 10, 15 minutes, just reminder, hey, here's how we're guarding this, here's how we're guarding that, here's how we're going to attack their zone, their man. Just quick reminders.
Love it. What specifically did you identify as advantages for playing this team, and where did you think you guys were going to be like, we might need a little help in that area? What were the pros and cons of facing this particular opponent?
So Riverwood, their best player is a sophomore scoring guard. I mean, he just gets buckets. So, they run everything for him, which they should. And he's one of those guys that just, he'll roll out of bed and get 25, even on a bad night. So
never in my life, BT, never in my life. I had a few games where I could put it up, but I was never one of those guys who could just show up and do it. It was like a process for me all the time.
No doubt. Hey, I can relate to you on that. So he was a big key, a big focus, of our scout, of our, defense, what we wanted to do and what we wanted to take away. Initially, we wanted to blitz him off any ball screens and any dribble handoffs, just to get it out of his hands.
Right.
And once he gave it up, we were going to full out deny him, face guard him, and really try to lock and trail any down screens, any staggers. Really wanted to keep the ball out of his hands and just make the other four guys make plays and try to shoot the ball. Initially that, we felt like that would work. And we got to the game and we had to make a quick adjustment, really quick adjustment.
Why is that? And what was the adjustment? What did you feel?
So our blitzes were not coming quick enough. Right. He was, he's about 6'4", and with that size, that length, he was able just to shoot over our blitz. He was able to pass over our blitz. So, just because he's such a high level player with a really good IQ and then really good scoring acumen, he was able to get a few plays early on in the first quarter. And I was just unhappy with our execution defensively. And so we just went to, I like to call it 5-go. And it's basically just a run and jump. We would pick a rondo, a non-scorer, a non-player, a non-ball handler. And as soon as he would dribble across half court, we'd run at him, get it out of his hands. Or if he was playing off the ball that possession, whenever they swung the ball to him, we just sprint at him and just blitz him right there and not even wait for a ball screen, any type of action. And it really took them out of their offense.
I agree.
And I thought it helped us break their rhythm, and we tried to break his rhythm as well. So I thought it forced some turnovers and forced them to kind of speed up a little bit.
So I have two clips about that run and jump. So I'll ask you a little bit more when we get into the film from that, because it's at various points in the game. But one thing I did want to ask that I suppose is semi-related. Coaches often talk about junking it up with particular zones, like a triangle and 2 in this case, or a diamond and 1, or a square and 1, whatever that may be. Are you a kind of coach who ever considers those as options for a player like this, or was the alternative doing what you were doing and you don't really lean towards those kinds of zones?
I would have no problem doing that if I had an older team.
Right.
I have a very young team, and I just don't trust those guys to jump into a triangle and 2, a box and 1,
right?
Those type of junk defenses. I try to keep it simple as possible, and I think there's no other simple thing than when a guy comes off a dribble handoff or ball screen, just to chase him and blitz him until he passes the ball.
Right.
And you know what? To his credit, he attacked us and was able to score, was able to make plays, and we had to adjust. So I figure our next more simple thing was when he crosses half court, just to run at him.
So the interesting thing, the reason that I asked that is that I found that those kinds of defenses have started to become popular again. Right. They're almost like thrown away for a while. Like when I played basketball way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, they ran triangles and 2 and diamond and 1 frequently. Right. And then I never really saw it very much. And then you saw it appear a little bit in the NBA a couple of years ago. And I remember this bubble season, I had a lot of friends who have done this show, like, hey, do you have any notes on a triangle and two? Do you know how to play it? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I played it a lot when I was a kid, actually. Like, I know a lot about it, but it's interesting because can be effective and I don't think is utilized very much at all.
Right.
So going into this game, when you present your scout and do your walkthrough and all that, are you guys going so far as giving matchups with your particular players, or are you giving information on all of the players or a few key players to all of your guys?
Great question. So what I like to do is I write the scout on a dry erase board,
Right.
one of those easel boards that have wheels.
Yep.
So we go over every guy, and for that game we were all out blitz on their guard, but usually we switch ball screens. So I want every guy to know who's a Rondo, who's a Wade, who's a Curry, just in case we go back to switching ball screens, just in case it's transition, you have to pick up a different guy, just so they know who is who and what is what. Because I never want a guy guarding someone that's a Curry and you just have no idea because that's not your matchup.
Right.
To me, that's not an excuse to give up a three. I mean,
Right.
if they're playing 8, 9 guys, you should know the 2 or 3 that are Curry. So, to me, that's no excuse.
So everybody kind of gets a little bit of everybody's trait. Everybody should know the general game plan. Do you do anything like depth charts for your guys? Like, are they always coming in at the same points during games? Are they always playing with similar, cast members on their team? Or is it each game is kind of like you're utilizing the feel of the game and it's like, I need this player now, or I think I've had this guy in a bit too long. Let me get him out. What's sort of your pattern or your philosophy on that?
So I feel like every game is different, because of fouls, because of possible injuries. Maybe a guy has it going more than another game. But for me, I have a few guys off the bench that I love to get in and just change the pace.
Right.
I have a 9th grade point guard who can really, really push the ball. He has a good feel of, when to pass, how to pass. He has a pretty good pull up, and he's a really small guy, but he's a tough dude. And when he comes in, he just really pushes the pace, which I love, being a former point guard. So as early on in the game as I can get him in, if I can get him in at 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I just love to get him in and just push the pace and have him pressure the ball and things like that.
But you're not doing anything specific or as specific as like, I need Byron in for 17 minutes in this game. It's more of like, you're going to get him in and you're going to sort of feel it out as to like what he looks like with the matchup, what the pace
Absolutely.
looks like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it. Anything different or unique that you really would have put in? Like you mentioned, sometimes week to week, you'll change some things. I guess the doubling we've kind of loosely talked about. Is there anything else maybe like on the offensive side that it was like, we're going to attack this, or we're going to utilize this action, or anything that was different or stands out in your mind?
So there's a very simple play. I'm sure you saw it a number of times. Hey, baby.
I love it. Special guest.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Good. We're recording some Run It Back right now. Look, hang on. Come here, Munchkin. Just for all the fans. This is my lovely daughter here too. She's tuned in and watching as well. So there you go.
I watch Daddy's show every day.
You watch Daddy's show every day. I love it. Thank you. Appreciate.
So offensively, we ran a play that I call follow. It's a simple side ball screen with a simultaneous cross screen. And the biggest emphasis I wanted to put on that was to just throw it inside. We have a 6'5" kid that's a senior, who's a pretty solid finisher. And I just really wanted to get it down to him, just to be aggressive, really try to finish over guys. I felt like we had a size advantage with him in there. And we ran that a number of times. And I literally just said, hey, come off that ball screen and just get it to my guy. And
Right.
let's see if he can shoot over these guys and see if he can get a layup, a jump hook, whatever that shot is, whatever spot he's in, if we can really feed it to him. He's not really a post guy, but in high school, he's
We're
a guy.
talking about he's a bigger white kid.
Yes. Number 12.
A couple up and unders and a few powerful dunks. Yeah, he had a good game in there for sure. So let's talk about moving into game here. You guys are playing 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
No, so we play 4 8-minute quarters.
4 8s. Okay, so it's 32 minutes, and there was a 35-second shot clock in there. Is that what I saw?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what's important to you on the bench for your assistant coaches to be tracking, if anything at all? Or are you just kind of telling them watch the game and give me feedback?
So I have 3 assistants, and one keeps fouls and timeouts. One keeps our defense as far as, okay, if we're in zone for X amount of possessions, how many stops do we have? If we're in man, X amount of possessions, how many stops do we have? One keeps our assists, turnovers, and free throws. And we kind of remind these guys in timeouts, hey, this last quarter we had, X amount of turnovers, X amount of assists, great job, or, let's do a better job of taking care of the ball. Just kind of reminders, because I think those guys always need those just reminders just on far as how they're doing. Sometimes guys are only thinking about scoring. So, if I can get them thinking about other things as far as, what type of run did we just go on? How are we doing at the free throw line, turnovers, assists? If I can get them thinking about anything that's non-point driven, I feel like we can do well, because, everybody's not going to score,
There's a sales tactic. I mean, most of you guys who know me know that I've spent most of my adult life in sales on the outside of coaching. There's a sales tactic that's called reducing it to the ridiculous. So what it means is, like, let's say your goal for the month is $1,000 of sales, and that might seem like an overwhelming number because maybe you're only selling like $2 products or something like that. You're like, how am I supposed to ever hit that? But then when you break it down, it's like, well, I have 20 shifts, so I only have to do $50 each shift, which means that I really only have to do 25 sales. And if I'm working over 5 hours, then I really only have to do 5 sales an hour. And then, really, that's really like 1 sale every 12 minutes. So that's not really that hard to do. I just have to remain focused on 1 every 12 minutes. And if I can group a few together, then I really don't have to do another one for a half hour. And I mean, it's an interesting philosophy to me in terms of how it applies to what you're saying, in that when you, even with scoring, but when you reduce things to the ridiculous, like, people will chart defensive kills or their assists or their turnovers or whatever. If you look at it over the course of a game, it's like, we want it to be under this number. But if you break it down to like, hey, in this 3-minute period, we had this many assists, but if we have this many in the next 5-minute period, we're exactly back where we need to be. And it might seem silly to have to say and remind, but I think it actually helps provide focus to the guys. Like, oh yeah, if we get 3 more assists, we're completely on track. And we know that if we're on track, we win these games type deal. So a very long tangent from my sales experience, but I actually think it really applies to this kind of stuff. Moving on to something similar, but done from outside of your staff. What's important to you on a box score? What are you looking at, like at the end of a quarter, at the half, all of that kind of stuff?
I definitely like to look at offensive rebounds on both ends. To me, that's a sign of aggression, of effort level, and just want to. Because I mean, you have to want to swim, spin, and run around a guy to go get a 2-hand rebound. I mean, those things just aren't going to fall in your lap for the most part. And I really look at those because, I think that's just a great way to get a second possession, third possession, and really try to get another score. The other thing I look at is free throw attempts, and it's the same thing. I think that just measures your level of aggression. How much are you going to the basket, playing off 2 feet? how much are you trying to get into the paint and make plays for others? Or are you just settling for, contested pull-ups or just chunking up a bunch of threes? I love to look at, how many free throw attempts that we're getting.
Interesting. Do you have a target for like a quarter, for a half, for a game type deal with that? Or is it just like that seems low relative to the way that I feel they're calling the game?
I do not because, every game is different. But you can really hear me if you're ever at a game, just really talk about paint touches. And I really had to break it down to my high school guys, just as far as, when you drive and you touch the paint the first time and you kick, if you don't have a shot, the next best thing to do is just drive it again.
Yes.
And we really found when we get to the paint 2 or more times in a possession, that shot is so uncontested, whether it's a layup, pull up, or it's a three. Just having that second and third drive, and just playing off 2 and not charging. I think it's something later on in the season we've gotten better at. And it's something that I've really, really talked about, just because, we have a lot of guards, have a lot of guys that can really make plays off the bounce. And I don't want to waste that. I don't want to waste that skill or that talent.
I love it. Having a college background, being at the Division I level, things are intense. You guys have all kinds of access to stats and, it's really high level stuff. And like you said, sometimes certain high school kids can't adapt to all of it. So scouts get modified a little bit.
Right.
That being said, what is your philosophy as a head coach now on throwing an audible from a game plan? And the reason I preface it with the Division I level is that I think game plans are probably a little bit more intricate at the college level than they are at the high school level.
Absolutely.
And I think coaches have a tendency to stay a little bit longer within their game plan at the college level, and even more so at the pro level than at the college level, than say like at a high school level comparative to the levels above. So when are you throwing the, okay, we got audible on that as opposed to, no, I don't think he can do that long-term over the course of a game? What's sort of your gray area? How do you manage that?
Great question. For me, I just take it from game to game. I look at each game as its own entity. And, we kind of go into it saying, hey, we want to do this. And then as a coaching staff, we have a backup plan. Hey, if we need to adjust, if we need to, if we need to go, go zone, if we need to go run and jump, we kind of have that in the back of our mind saying, hey, this is what we decided that if we do adjust, we're going to go to that. And one thing that we do during that week of practice, we actually work on that. So it's not like when we get to the game, hey, this is the first time we've ever done this run and jump. We're in shell, so we work on, hey, this is how we want to stop them. And then we may go on and do shell again another day, and we may work on that adjustment, but we may not tell those guys, hey, this is going to be our adjustment for the game.
This is why we're doing this. We're just kind of giving
reps at it, and we coach it up, and we stop it and teach, and then once we get to the game, they've done it for a couple of days, so it's not their first time hearing that, hey, we're going to run and jump this guy because he's their best player, get out of his hands.
Will you ever try something that you've not done at all, or are you completely against it?
So I think I had this conversation with Addison about offense.
Nice.
So, coming to high school, and this was so funny when we were talking this. I talked to Martin about this too. So I figured, I could call a timeout, draw something up, some cute offense, and get a good basket. I draw stuff up, and then my guy goes and stands on the left block. He's supposed to be on the right block.
It's like, what are you doing?
So I draw something up. My guy's supposed to throw it to the right wing. He throws it to the left wing, and the other 4 guys are like, "What's going on?" So, to answer your question, offensively, we don't do anything new and different. Everything that we're going to do offensively is something we worked on that week. But defensively, I'm game to do something, to try something. I'm game on the defensive end, but just offensively, I've been frustrated, probably our first 4 games, I try to draw something up and a guy just goes to the wrong side, or I draw it up 2 or 3 times And as I walk out, the guy that I drew the play up for, he turns to me and goes, "Coach, so what am I doing again?" So, I've just went away from that. I've went away from that offensively, trying to
So
do this.
it's funny, BT, because to answer my own question and to go off on a tangent a little bit and just sort of have an insert, I am the kind of person who's willing to try new things. And then what I'll do is I'll be like, you guys want to play high level, but you can't do this yet. Like, listening is a skill. You have to be able to adapt. And I'll show them the film and I'll be like, this is what the play was. This is what we did. Like, and I'll look at the differences, but you have to be willing to. I mean, you probably can't do it at a pro level the same way that I'm doing it, like with the guys that I'm working with, because
Right.
you have to have more of a tolerance for error and be willing to teach, et cetera, as opposed to like, my job depends on this. You know, Division I guys in here, I'm sure know too, like, my job depends on this. I'm not going to screw around with it. Either they get it or they don't. And I'm laughing a little bit harder because today I was watching the vertical prep game. I think that's what they're called, where Mikey Williams is at. And they lost to a Canadian school. And the head coach of the Canadian school is my friend who's done this show. And Mike DeGiorgio is his name. And I saw him draw something up. And the guys literally walked out and passed it to nowhere and turned it over. And I was like, man, I feel for you right now. Because we all know that feeling where it's like, what is happening? That's absolutely not what we just threw up. Like, literally just passed it to the referee out of bounds. Like, well, he was open at least. Sorry, moving on from my tangent. I apologize. It's funny because we all have definitely had that frustration as a coach.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Do you do anything that is like a post-game report that compares how you executed to what your game plan was and sort of like evaluates not only your team, but yourself in terms of like, hey, maybe I was off the mark with what I was giving them, should have been this instead, or whatever the case might be?
So for me, I love to go back and watch our games, and I take what's called post-game notes.
Right.
And I send them to my coaching staff so they can understand what I see. And, and I'll put things in there like, hey, I should have done a better job in practice this week of explaining what we're looking for on this set. Or, I may say, hey, I should have done a better job of substituting, and I really try to give them just a viewpoint of what I'm thinking and what I'm looking at as I'm watching the video. So, as we move on to the next game, one of my assistants may say, hey, coach, from the notes, you said you wanted to do X, Y, and Z next game. You said you want to do a better job. So that way they understand, my mindset and my thoughts. And it could be as the game's going along that I just forgot that I said that in those post-game notes. Whatever that is. If I say, hey, I want us to get more paint touch, that next game, whatever that small thing may be. But I try to send that to my coaching staff just so they can understand, what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing, and then kind of how we want to flow into that next game.
I love the fact that you share that with your coaching staff, because I mean, I've been in situations where there's not very good communication between, assistants and a head coach, but I think that allows for a lot more input. It allows for an assistant to feel more in the process.
Right.
And like you said, they can throw those reminders like, hey, coach, remember you wrote this in the notes? This is what I'm seeing right now type deal. I think that's great, actually. I think I'm going to employ that myself. As far as, the pregame and in-game audible type stuff and all that, that's all I have for the questions. I'm going to move into a bit of the film. I pulled 10 clips from it. If anybody has any questions, please feel free now to jump in if you guys want. But if not, I'm going to pull this up, BT. Let me know if the playback is smooth for you, if it looks okay.
Yeah, looks good. Looks
okay, good. So I think I pulled 10 clips from this game. Like I said, I'll go through each clip. I'll try to describe it because, like I said, certain people are listening and not watching. And then anything that you see, let me know what you liked, didn't like, why you're running it, what you did wrong, how you would correct it, any of those kinds of things. So this is one of the earliest plays of the game. I think you guys actually got a run out off of a defensive steal first, but this is the first half court set. We got a high ball screen, center of the floor. We got a single side on the right side. We're moving to a double side on the left side. Your guard is attacking a drop, and your your screen setter is just popping out. I imagine, it's a nice, easy pick and pop and jump shot hit, but The reason I put this in is just I imagine you don't see a lot of drop at the high school level, and I'm wondering if you work on it at all and how you feel that your guys handled it, or if they are just sticking to we're running a pick and pop and that's what's kind of happening.
The funny part is I'm looking at our spacing because my guy on the same side as the pop guy should be in the corner.
He's too high.
So anytime we come off a ball screen, my teaching point is to take two bounces before you make a decision, whether
Right.
that decision is to attack or to throw back or hit a roll guy. So I'm satisfied with the two dribbles. Um, and we do not see a lot of drop unless we're going against a team that has a true big guy, a true 6'8", 6'9" guy. Um, we probably only played maybe three teams out of all of our games that have had a true, 6'8", 6'9" guy. Um, so, I love the pop. He got really good space. He got his feet set, feet shoulder width apart, got a good base there. Um, and my guy came off the ball screen and he really snapped that pass. So the pass was on time, on target. I got no problem with him shooting that shot.
Love it. How are you teaching all this? I mean, this looks like fairly simple stuff, but you'd be surprised how often it gets messed up at various levels where, guys are not coming off, like you said, the pass isn't on time, on target, the person's not ready to shoot, it's the wrong person in the wrong spot coming off, all those kinds of things. How are you teaching this with your guys?
So first and foremost, we have our lanes that we have to run for transition. Um, and for me, I love to get the ball to half court as quickly as possible. I would prefer to get the ball to half court in 5 seconds if possible. I would love to pitch the ball ahead if we can. Um, so it looks like, we got two guys that ran the same wing. Looks like one is trying to go through. They kind of get confused. It looks like that's the offense that we're running. Um, Number 12 was our trailer here, Ethan. So he gets into a drag ball screen. Um, and then I'm pleased with our spacing here because my guy number 3 goes to the 45, Jaden. So he gives him plenty of space to attack off that ball screen. So as his guy kind of hugs, in that gap, he has space to either turn the corner, he has space to throw it back. So I think we got pretty good spacing here besides my guy coming out of the corner there.
So like would every practice have a part of ball screen in it in terms of your teaching? Like would you be doing 3-on-3s, 4-on-4s, etc., and always be running some sort of action, or are you relying on uh, being able to make adjustments on the fly with words with your guys?
So before we get to the ball screen portion, we do this every day. I call it 5 and 30, 10 and 1, and that's just our guys running their lanes. So they got 30 seconds for all 5 guys to get a finish, and we're pitching it ahead. We're throwing rim runners, and just really want to catch the ball on the run, and we do that 5-on-0, and the 10 trips in a minute. That really gets those guys winded, but I want those guys to be in a habit of catching you on the run, whether it's make or miss. And we do that every day in practice. I mean, that's like the first thing we start out with, because I
Right.
want those guys to be in the mind frame of just being aggressive and having that team on their heels. I think that's just, ways you can take advantage of getting, 8, 10, 12 points in transition without having to run a set play. And then our next thing is, if, they stop us from doing that, is we look to come off a quick drag. He's setting it in the slot, and that kind of gives my guy more room to come off the ball screen to make a play. I prefer the drag set in that strong side slot instead of the top of the key, because I think if he comes off at the top of the key, I think that really makes that gap even smaller as he comes off. I think it makes it easier for, I think it's number 23 in white, to gap up on that ball screen. But I think if you set that drag in the slot, now it really opens up that gap, and now he has to make a decision. Is he going to come over in the gap? Is the ball screen guy going to stay in his drop? How far is he coming over? And I really love just that small teaching of taking 2 more steps to really come off it, to open up that gap for driving to get to that paint and just make a good play.
It's interesting. I don't know the way my mind works. Hearing what you do as like one of your just before your dynamic or something that you're emphasizing every day, just reminded me of a drill that I'd like to throw in. I told you I just started a new job, and I think age appropriate and all that. So thank you. I'm making notes as we speak here. Love it. Next clip here is, what do we got? This goes to what we were talking about, getting the ball out of a particular guy's hands. This to me is unusual. I don't think it's a typical run and jump type thing that you would see often, where you're bringing somebody off of a non and just getting the ball out of somebody's hands. So for anybody who's listening, we're coming down defensively. They're bringing the ball to the offensive left slot, and the gentleman who's guarding the offensive right slot just totally leaves his man, runs and jumps, almost like he's hedging the ball up the floor. Gentleman picks up his dribble, and now we're in rotations and chasing. They gain almost no advantage out of it. We get back to where we're going. They actually drive and drop off, and looks like they're going to get a layup, but your guy makes a huge block and saves the day. Talk to me about, first of all, you spoke a little bit about why you're doing this, but talk to me about the rotations of getting back, how you're working on that, what you're telling your guys, and what you see when you look at it here, if they did it effectively.
So if you go back, once number 3 swings it to 23 at the top, I teach my guys as the kid runs a baseline, I teach my guys we do not run at rondos. Even if they catch it in a rotational pass, you almost want to stunt to stay, make that dude drive at you, because it doesn't make any sense to close out long or even run at a rondo when you're in rotations already.
So you mean on this pass to number 23 right here?
Yeah, so 23 swings it to number 1. The teaching point for my guy that's on the block here, number 2, is to not run at him.
Gotcha.
He would stunt to stay. He'd stay on the block, and if that guy drives at him, we teach him to take that charge there, just wall him up. I wish number 3 would have been more fundamentally sound and not reach on that on number 23 here. He got all out of position. Surprised he didn't call a foul there. But that's our teaching point to have someone else make a play, to have someone else try to go score, and this is why we're doing this. They have their non-Curry, their non-best player, trying to go make a driving kick. They have another guy that's capable of making a layup. But I want those other guys trying to make plays instead of the guy that's averaging, 26 points a game.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about your help principles here. So when 3 on your team reaches, puts himself out of position, and 23 drives middle, your big is your help, and there's no drop for your top guy here.
Right.
This gentleman here. I'm wondering if that's part of your principles, that you were staying because this is the offensive threat and you're willing to give up this attack, or if he just missed a rotation.
So if you go back to when 23 is driving and 12 is here guarding on, so 23 has the ball in the right slot. He goes between his legs. He's going left, going downhill. And my guy number 12 is guarding on the left block. Okay.
Yep.
So as you see, as he's coming downhill, we teach that you do not help up. If you see that he slides over, okay, and that's a huge teaching point, because I feel like if you help up, you can never get back to try to contest or wall up on this drop-off pass. So he helps over to stop the initial drive. And then our other teaching point was, I had my guy number 1, Jelani. He's guarding the Curry, so we never help off of Curry. We never help off of Curry. I don't want to give up any open threes to get a guy going, especially a big-time scorer.
Right.
So we help over. Okay, now he drops it off, really good pass. And then we just say, hey, do your best to try to get back to contest, to wall up, try to contest without fouling. And, just try to
do a great job of.
Try to be as physical as possible if you can.
It's interesting, BT. I just learned something. I've never heard that phrase before, not helping up. I've taught it where it's like you don't move up, but I've actually never heard that phrase before. That's a big teaching point.
I just think it's really easy to make that layup if he's even one step above, because if he takes a step towards the ball handler, he'll never be able to contest that shot.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's just too much of, I'm moving forward, let me change and come back. And to do it without fouling, you got to be a pretty good athlete.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This was you guys putting in your press pretty early. Talk to me about, like, are you pressing for time? Are you pressing for deflections? Are you pressing aggressively for steals? Talk to me about what you're running here, because press is a little bit weird to me in terms of the way that it looks. And then obviously talk to me about execution. So for anybody who's listening, the ball starts in the backcourt on the offensive left side, moves to the offensive right side on one swing. There is a double team, and then we pass over the double team to the middle. And then the ball gets back to the same gentleman who made that pass on the sideline. He attacks downhill. He misses a right hand layback or reversal on the other side. And then they end up going the other direction because, again, the same gentleman makes an excellent block shot. But talk to me about the press, the formation, the aggressiveness, all of that stuff.
So this was early on in the year. This is our 9th game of the season. And this is a 1-2-2 3-quarter court. And I think you mentioned it earlier. We're playing with a shot clock this game. Georgia is going to next year. All games will be 35-second shot clock.
Right.
So our whole deal was to provide some pressure, and we wanted their ball handler to dribble it up into the trap instead of my guy number 2 walking up into the trap.
Right.
I would prefer number 1 to push 23 up the sideline and not give him a two-way go, make him dribble it up one way, either side. So as he would come up, my opposite guy 0 should have the middle. And he's trying to play the throwback pass instead of playing the middle. And here's a couple teaching points. Our top guy should be pushing the ball handler up the floor. And then our third line guy should be communicating with our second line guys about any late flash middle, any deeper flash middle. I just think that we take that away. Now he has to throw it to his throwback guy. And now we're still taking time off that shot clock. We can possibly get a 10-second count. And what our adjustment was later on in the year, we actually moved our second line guys back to the volleyball line, because I feel like if he were to throw it back to the throwback guy, I feel like number 2 would have a very long run from that trap back to cover the middle. And we really got killed on that a lot early on in the season from teams that would throw it to the throwback guy, and our guy would leave the middle, and the middle would be open. He'd just throw it right over our head and go attack. So what we did was we moved those second line guys back to the volleyball line, and we really got a later trap, probably just before half court, and it actually made our runs, our rotation, from trap to middle, from middle to trap, it actually made those runs shorter.
Do you trap a second time ever in this 1-2-2, or is it only one trap and then trying to steal, deflect, and then you're playing square from there?
I would say it would depend on who we're playing. If I think it's a more of a weaker ball handling team, I'll let those guys be aggressive and trap 2, maybe 3 times. If I think it's a really solid team, we may get one trap and then just try to sprint back to man. But it just depends on game to game, who we're playing and what we kind of feel as a coaching staff about their just ball handling strengths or weakness.
Gotcha. This one is playing against the reject. So you guys are on defense. They're bringing the ball to the offensive right slot. Here comes a screen. The screen is for middle. And then their ball handler number 3 just rejects.
Really good.
I hear the eye twitch moment already. He gets downhill. You guys help strong side on this. He makes a corner pass. I believe they missed the open shot, and you rebound and get out. Talk to me about what you see in an ideal world, how you would like to correct it, and like how you sort of teach what you want to play here.
So in an ideal world, whether number 3 is a big time player or not, I kind of want him to feel a little bit more heat right here. The guy on the ball, Jelani Haynes, has a really, really long wingspan. He's about 6'4", probably like a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. He got his hands in his pocket right now. He's not really using that wingspan. So I would love for him to push up maybe 1 or 2 steps, make that guy uncomfortable. And, he obviously hears the ball screen coming, but I would love for him to get into that ball handler's right hip to make him use that screen And our game plan was to, when he comes off that ball screen, to go ahead and blitz him. And obviously, if he doesn't come off that ball screen, if he rejects it, there is no blitz. So, you have to push him towards your help. You have to push him exactly to where we can get that blitz. And our other three guys know where they can rotate to. This is just a really good play by a good player. He takes advantage of having that space, having that, ability to be comfortable right there. He uses a, little hesitation crossover there to get our guy, off balance. And I can tell you this, in the video that I watched, I'm surprised he didn't just raise up and shoot it, because the guy that's in gap is not a very big or long player. He's skilled enough and talented enough to really go pound dribble three right here and shoot over my guy. But he's a good teammate. He makes the extra pass there.
It's funny to me because whenever I watch film, I always wonder what happens to a guy's balance right here. Right at that moment. It's like, what happened to your balance? Where did it go? It just, somebody pulled you forward and you fell down. I like, what about this helping off with the strong side, the gap defender coming? Are you okay with that? Is that scout specific? I know certain coaches don't like helping ball side. Of course, you don't want to get rejected on, so you really only have one defender to beat. But talk to me about what you see there.
So our teaching point is we don't help off the strong side if it's a Curry. If it's anyone else, we'll just stop up that gap and make them kick it. And I just hold my guys accountable to getting back to that closeout and getting back to trying to contest that shot, or if he rips baseline, try to take an angle where you cut him off.
Right.
And you know what? I feel like if you don't give him an out, if you don't say, oh man, it is hard, you got to the gap and, oh man, he hit a shot. No, I want him to be a multiple effort guy. He's got to get there and stop that reject. And then he's got to have that effort to contest that shot or cut off that baseline drive.
And for that help defender that is in the gap, are you teaching stunt and recover, or are you teaching his position is his help and he's just got a one-way closeout from there?
So early on, I thought we did a better job. We got away from it, and we actually did a really good job in our game last night of being tighter in the gaps. To me, my whole thing is I want those guys to see our numbers. I want those guys to see that cast, on our chest when we're in gaps. So it looks like there are no driving gaps. This gap looks pretty wide, but now he really sits down into it as number three goes to reject it and drive. I love this because, you stop a really good player and you have him really give it up to a guy that's not a Curry. This guy was away for this game, and I'm okay with him taking a lately contested three. I'm okay with it. Now, if this was a Curry, he would stunt to stay, and our deepest guy on the opposite left block, number two, he'd come all the way over to either take a charge, wall up. He'd come all the way over, and then our guy on the opposite elbow, number 10, we call it a cover down, a seal down. He would go directly to the block to either box number 5 out, or he'd go down to take away that backdoor cut.
Would those two be correct in terms of what I've drawn on
Absolutely. 100%.
Love it. And that being scout specific, the expectation on your gentleman is that everybody knows who they're guarding. So number 10 should or should not be coming, and everybody else should know, all right, we're helping or we're staying based upon that's what that is in that corner.
Absolutely. So with this group that Riverwood has in, number 3 is the only Curry. So let's say as he goes by, let's say if number 10 happens to not be in that gap and 2 has to come over. If he skips it over to 23 or 5, our guys are taught not to run at those guys. I think 23 was a Wade, number 5 was a Rondo. So, we're not going to be out of control running at those guys. If they happen to shoot, we'll get a late contest on a pull-up or a 3 or anything like that. But we're not going to be out of control just because it's a long closeout and allow those guys to rip drive and try to get into the paint.
Love it. That actually kind of prevents your X out a little bit on that help side, because if they're not running at, then you can allow for that late closeout of the second one. Absolutely. I got a question for you in terms of the forcing over. Do you force over and have your ball defender go over as well? Or do you force over and have your ball defender go under? Because, I mean, you mentioned here you are blitzing, but you also said in the pregame there you switch typically. So what is sort of like your standard coverage there?
So for this game, we were blitzing. We would normally switch. And because number 3 is who he is, we wanted to chase him over the top on any action that he was involved in.
Right.
So if it was a ball screen, if it was a handoff, I feel like, we should try to get into his hip and possibly push him wider so you don't get hit with that screen.
Right.
Try to push him wider if it's a dribble handoff so he can't turn the corner. Anytime, especially a good player, you can try to get into his body and maybe take away some rhythm, maybe have him be 1 or 2 steps out further than he normally is when they run that set play. Just trying to take away any comfort level when he has the ball, when he's involved in any sort of action.
Love it. Next one we got is a flip to handoff action for you guys. And I was just asking, who you trying to attack? What are your teaching points? So for anybody who's listening, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this was actually the first play of the third quarter, but I might be incorrect. We inbound into the back court, and give me 1 second. Sorry, we got somebody in our waiting room. We inbound into the back court. We move the ball to the offensive right slot. We flip it to the inbounder who's coming downhill. And then you end up just with a handoff towards the wing and a strong drive towards the center. They're not really guarding on the nail with their help. He gets to his left hand and he finishes through what I think is some contact. So, talk to me about the action. What are you trying to establish? What are some wrinkles in it? What are some alternatives if they cover it slightly different? And is this even a play call, or is this guy's just playing good basketball?
So this is an action that we call pitch, and right. We can run this either way. He can either hand it off to the trailer or he can hand it off to the wing. And the main reason why we do this is to try to set an illegal screen. So early on, I mentioned about having multiple drives.
Right.
So we hand it off to the trailer. He tries to get downhill as far as possible.
Yep. And
then our guy out of the corner is taught to basically run off his backside and almost use him as a screen to try to turn the corner. And Zero is a lefty. He's a big time football guy. He's a quick twitch guy. He's a guy that can get downhill with the best of them. So anytime we get him going downhill, going left, he's a 5'9", 5'10", just a really, really strong, athletic, explosive dude. So anytime we can get the ball in his hands going downhill, that's a win for us.
And in terms of their helping, like if they're covering the nail, it's simple stuff like to the next side. But do you hand off again and try to achieve the same thing on the other side?
So at this point, once we get to the second dribble handoff, he's taught to get to the paint and just make the next right play. So if the guy helps off the elbow, he's going to try to play off 2 and kick it to him. If the corner guy helps off the shooter in the corner, he's going to play off 2 and kick it there. If he can get downhill and the guy at the rim helps up, you see how number 12 is trying to seal up that corner guy.
My next question was going to be what sort of penetration principles is your 5-man taught in this kind of action?
So he kind of did this on his own, but I would prefer that he goes kind of back to the baseline and just have his hands ready kind of below the block.
Right.
I actually thought this was good action. He kind of takes the seal down guy away, and whether it's a shot or not, or whether it's a drop off, he creates an angle for himself to catch the ball or to get a tip in.
Love it. The next one I think is another eye twitch one. It's let me just get there. Sorry. This is rotations on straight line drive is what my note says. So they've got their player in the offensive left slot, and he just blows by. It's basically a reject again. So the screen is coming.
Oh yeah.
Your ball defender gets caught looking. He gets caught looking. Obviously, there's no right hand on left hip, sort of forcing him over like we were talking about. Gets blown by. But, talk to me now about like rotations, because it looks like ball defender tries to recover and low man never comes back. And it also looks like your 5-man is coming from the screen to go and try and help. So in an ideal world, how would you like to play this differently?
So In an ideal world, I would love for my guy to be in his hip while he gets rejected twice on the video. He's got to be better than
Right.
that. I'd love for him to be in that guy's hip and not so worried about the ball screen.
Right.
He got caught looking right over his shoulder. As soon
Yep.
as he turns and look, I mean, the guy, really good move, goes in and out and just goes right by him. My guy on the baseline, our deepest guy, Zero, he's kind of locked into their best player, number 3. And you know, he's in a full out denial. So that would not be his help. It actually should be number 2, who's on the opposite block, should come over and either take that charge, wall up. You know, just didn't have a lot of communication on that backside. And to 23's credit, I mean, he really exploded on that in and out, and he really got there. So we kind of got caught with no backside help on that.
So I'm sorry, number 1, if you ever end up watching this, I didn't mean to put you on the spot twice, but that's interesting, helping where it's not your low man coming from. So I'm assuming that's scout specific. How would you talk to your guys about that? Like, I mean, obviously this would be something that you would talk about during like a shell type deal.
Right. So in a normal situation, if number 3 wasn't a guy that's averaging more than 25 a game, you know, Zero wouldn't be face guarding him. You know, he'd be butt to the baseline, you know, pointing pistols. And then as he sees that drive, he step outside the paint, take a charge, wall him up, you know, in a perfect situation. So I'm sure, you know, because we've done that in practice, you know, we do that every day. You know, I'm sure number 2 is thinking, hey, that's not my rotation. You know, I'm sure he's thinking that's Zero's rotation. And then that's my seal down when you know, when he goes over to take that charge. So that's pretty much scout specific as far as him, you know, chasing him through, face guarding him, really trying to deny him. And our whole thing was make these other 4 guys beat us. You know, we didn't think that the other 4 players could make enough plays to actually beat us.
And in an ideal world, the way to solve it would be communication. I'm assuming they should just be talking it.
Absolutely.
What about your floating big coming to help? Do you have a problem with him coming, or do you not? Do you treat it like he's recognizing there's a problem and he's just trying to help it out?
So I don't remember what our ball screen coverage was on the non-Curry. Normally we would switch that. So I don't know why my guy on the ball was so worried about the ball screen if we're just going to switch it anyway. So it looks like to me that 12 is trying to come up to get on the other side of the ball screen to switch it. So as the drive goes and he tries to run down to contest, my guy at the top of the key really needs to come down to take out number 13. He's kind of taking a picture there of the play. So, I mean, if there's a missed layup here, I mean, 13 he has a free runway to tip that in or get a tip dunk there.
Basically, you're saying you want this in there?
Absolutely. I mean, he's got to go crush that guy. He's got to push him out. You know, even if he can't get the rebound, he can't allow 13 to get that rebound.
Gotcha.
Pretty good finish, by the way, inside hand.
Yeah, not bad. A little lean on it too, and it's over a guy who's, I think, probably a little bit more. I mean, primary defender, like you said, 6'7" wingspan, a little bit more bouncy, in my opinion, and he gets it in there. Playing against aggressive ball screen defense. So I think your guys solved something that was pretty good here. I'm kind of just giving them credit for the way that they solved it, but I'm wondering if you work on playing against overly aggressive ball screen defense. So for anybody who's listening, basically the screen's coming towards the offensive left slot. BT's team is on offense. It almost looks like they're going to set a Spain pick and roll because the 5-man's at the 3-point line and there's another screener up top, and the 2 of them jump him. You know, it's just an aggressive blitz coming off of it, and 11 short rolls out of it, and everybody kind of spaces appropriately. He drives the basketball and gets a little drop off for an up and under on the other side. Talk to me about the way that they solve this. Talk to me about any teaching points you see in here, and do you play against overly aggressive coverages in your practices?
So before I answer this, number 11 is our starting quarterback. He's a 10th grader. He started since 9th grade.
Right.
So pretty heady kid, pretty tough dude. And I'm laughing because anytime he makes this specific drive, whether he's open or not, he cannot read that part, but he can read a lot of different things on the football field. He normally shoots a contested pull-up on this.
Huh.
Whether he's open or not. I mean, he normally shoots that. Really good drop-off pass. And I think I mentioned this earlier. I prefer my forward right here to go butt to the baseline and kind of have his hand ready.
Yep.
And as that pass is coming, he's going cheat step at the same time. So he can go finish that. My point guard, I actually thought, did a really good job of getting the ball out of his hands. You know, they had a pretty good blitz right there. They had him dead to rights in that coffin corner. And he just picked it up quickly and really got rid of it. And the thing that I like about this drive is, you know, once he throws it out, it's 4-on-3. So instead of him holding the ball, instead of him trying to figure out what to do, you know, maybe trying to set up a play, you know, he just caught the ball and just, you know, ball faked and just ripped it hard and just say, you know what, let me just go make a play. And I love that aggression. I love, you know, when guys just say, hey, I'm going to just go get to the paint, play off 2 feet and really just make the right play. You know, I can't hear it, but I'm sure as he was driving, I was yelling 2 feet.
Just a friendly reminder, don't shoot that floater. It's a bad shot for you.
Just trying to remind those guys, you know, playing off 2 feet just really helps them, you know, just being under control, not charging there. You know, he's able to see the pass. And I think that was very well executed.
I would agree. And who's playing your 5 actually has this one-step dunk too. He put 2 of them down in this game, if I remember correctly. As far as the coverage, though, your guard's just making a good play. It's not something that you know, you're telling them this is the solution for all the time, and your screener is just making the right read in terms of his role.
Yeah, they didn't show this in you know, previous games that I watched ball screen blitz. I almost think it was because my guy was kind of on the sideline. You know, he's kind of in the coffin corner. I think 23 just made a read. Hey, you know, we kind of got him tight over here on the sideline. Let me just go trap him. You know, he got him before he even came off the ball screen. So, you know, the short roll was actually perfect.
Love it. The next one is kind of a staple for my show. It's the transition 3, yay or nay. Without, of course, being married to the result. This one gets deflected, it looks like, and ends up being an air ball. But, you know, for you, what are you telling your guys on being able to shoot threes in transition?
So you can't see the clock. At this point, it's less than 2 minutes in the game, and we have scored enough points to win the game. So we always push the ball. Number 2 is a senior. He should know better. But my point to him was, when I took him out of the game, was, hey, we scored enough points. You know, early on in the game, you know, I may be okay with a quick 3, maybe not a contested one. But, you know, time and score, I think we don't take that shot.
Right. It looks like there's about 33 left on that shot clock too, right? So, as you said, you scored enough to win the game. Time is your friend. Let it tick down at this point. Like,
no doubt. You know, one of my best free throw shooters, and I brought him out of the game because he had that one, and then he had another one where he came down and shot a pull-up. And when I brought him out, he said, hey, coach, we are pushing the ball, aren't we? I said, we absolutely are pushing the ball, but we're not taking quick shots. You know, and I had to turn and I said, hey, look up at the scoreboard. I said, what would happen if you dribbled across very quickly and you just dribbled right there at their logo until somebody fouled you? He said, coach, I'd hit 2 free throws. I said, well, I think that's a much better play than coming down and getting your shot blocked from 3.
Right. I think I would agree with you too, coach. Then, so this is the similar sort of action to what I was saying earlier in the game that I think was different or unique in terms of the random double team coming at their best player, getting the ball out of their hands. You know, is there anything different teaching wise that you would see here in terms of who you're coming off of still correct? The fact that it's significantly later in the game, you know, like, talk to me about all the elements of still coming and doubling. And for anybody who's listening, just basically balls offensive, right slot, and they double it from basically the nail area off of what I'm assuming is a non as well.
Yeah, so at this time, number 5 is the rondo that we're running off of. And number 3 had a number of turnovers. And I would say he had a terrible floor game. But like I said, he can roll out of bed and get 25. He had 35 this game. And he
Wow.
probably had 10 or more turnovers. So so he didn't play well, but he just scores the ball. So our whole thing was let's get the ball out of his hands. Let's have the other 4 guys try to go make a play. Let's have the other 4 guys try to go shoot it. So as we run off that rondo, number 2 for me, Jackson, sprinting back in. He gets tight in the gap, which I love because his guys are rondo. So he comes for the help, and he's still chasing the guy down, and he takes a contested layup. I mean, that's a tough shot.
And you were fine with the rotating back to the same person that they came off of. You didn't consider like a clock rotation or an X out or anything in these kinds of scenarios. You were okay with that rondo. You're like, just leave it. We'll get back to it. We're okay with the decision they're going to make.
Yeah, so the Rondo's in the middle of the paint. Even if he was in the opposite corner, I mean, we're still not running at him. If they reverse it to him, he's going to go short closeout and dare him to shoot. And if he drives, he's just going to slide to try to cut him off or take a charge. So we're nobody's going to rotate to that Rondo. I mean, if I tell those guys if he hits that shot, that's on me. We've done our job. We got the ball out of the best player's hands, and now those other 4 guys are trying to go make a play. I think we talked about this earlier. My guy number 3 with the neon shoes, he comes down to seal down. There was a play, there was a clip earlier. He didn't do it. So
Right.
now, my big guy comes over to contest. He gets on the inside, boxes that guy out. I wish he'd be a little bit more physical. Wish he was down in the stands, but he was in the right spot.
And ended up getting the rebound ultimately too. He came away with it. Um, so this was one of the set plays that I saw. I kind of liked the action. I don't think you guys spaced it as well as you probably would have liked, but basically, my note says wing entry, ball screen, and cross screen. So basically, the ball is moved to the offensive right wing. There is a through cut from that offensive right slot. At the same time, the other slot comes and sets the ball screen. And underneath the basket, there is a cross screen happening to bring the big to what would be the original help side of the floor. And then the ball screen turns into a veer screen, which is a pin down action to get that gentleman open on the wing. And you guys end up shooting sort of a mid range at the nail area. Talk to me about this set. Talk to me about the play call, the wrinkles, how you feel you executed it. There's so much going on here. I like it. I think it's a good set. I don't
Gosh,
think maybe you got the result that you wanted out of it, but without being married to the result, talk to me about it.
So earlier on, you asked about offensively in the scout. What were we looking to attack? And I mentioned this cross screen play.
Yeah.
As you see, number 12 goes from the ball side block to the opposite block at the same time as the ball screen is going on. He's open right now. I would love for us just to snap it into him. I think
Right.
we have a size advantage there. My guy's not really a post guy. He's more of a face up 4 guy. But I think he can catch it quickly and just turn and shoot over that guy. I wish he wouldn't have gave up his position there. I wish he would have just kind of stayed,
Right about
one,
there.
one, one foot in the paint and kind of just been ready for the pass. But I think he's open right now. I think you got to snap that into him, whether it's a quick snap right off the hip or just snapping into him on a bounce pass. That ball's had to go in there. We got to get a layup off of that. I do not like this shot that he took, a hesitate, late contest pull up. I'd rather him make that next pass to the wing and try to start getting some more drives, maybe some drives and kicks, some drives, and we call it pitch action, where you drive to the paint and you may go dribble handoff to the next guy, just kind of turn the corner. I didn't like how we executed this. I like our screening. I thought we made some contact on the screens. I like that. But I thought we missed an opportunity for a layup right here.
It's interesting, BT. When you said he's open right here, I agree with you. I actually am just kind of noticing that like this screen is so good, and the way that 23 is playing it, I might actually throw that right here. right here. 23 is not going to get there. And I'm probably going to left-hand that, fire it in.
So
Because
so 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 the reason we run this zero is actually left-handed. So he typically either gets a layup off of this, um, or we get a layup down for number 12, Ethan. And we run this a lot. I mean, I think it's very, very simple action. I think it's very easy action. It's something that the guys can really remember. Uh, and we just run this a lot. We try to get it in there for a layup. We try to turn the corner on that ball screen, and then we have that last option of just a screener coming back. With that throwback, with that shooter coming up.
yeah, I like it. Good stuff. I think that's it. I think we've reached the end, sir. Thank you very much for your time. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump in. If not, I'm going to wind down the Run It Back episode there. BT, let me take a second and say, like, obviously got to know you over the past couple of years, spent a lot of time on Zooms together, and I genuinely appreciate you. I mean, we got to work together on Lamar Barrett's scouting report thing that we did,
Absolutely,
and I
that
mean,
was
just
fun. That was
yeah,
fun.
it was fun, and just getting to know you and see how you work and be an admirer of how you approach your craft and how much you love it. I'm a fan and always have been. So I appreciate you, and for you to sit down. For anybody who doesn't realize, this is not the typical time that we would film a Run It Back, because obviously Byron's in season, and for you to be able to spend some time on the weekend with me and get this done. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And to all the coaches who jump on, appreciate you guys as well. Hope it continues to have value for you. Thanks, BT.
Oh, appreciate you. Appreciate you. I enjoyed it. I did.
All right. I'll see you guys next week. Please tune in, and I'll stop the recording there.